Buenos días, buenas tardes y buenos días a algunos. Hoy volamos en el cuarto viaje del mayoceliaco 2021. Gracias por volar con nosotros una vez más. Hoy tenemos a Sara y a Marisa que nos van a presentar cómo es la celiaquía en Australia y Holanda. Hello, welcome to this flight, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the flight mayoceliaco 2021 offered by FACE Joven. Today we will be flying with Sara and Marisa to Australia and the Netherlands. Hello, girls. How are you?
Good.
Hello.
Hi. Antes mencionaba que buenos días a algunos porque Sara está en Australia y allí son las 4 de la mañana. Entonces, pues, primeramente agradecer el esfuerzo a Sara y, bueno, a Marisa también agradecer estar aquí. Y, bueno, ¿vamos a empezar? Sí. So, we will start now. So, please, Marisa, could you tell us what is it like to live with celiac disease in your country? I mean, is it easy, difficult? How would you describe in general?
Do you want me to answer in Spanish or in English?
Feel free to do whatever you feel like. You can try in Spanish, we will help you.
Okay. En Holanda es bastante fácil. En todos los supermercados hay productos sin gluten y, por supuesto, en ciudades es más fácil que en los pueblos, pero creo que es similar en España. Y muchos restaurantes tienen productos sin gluten también, pero el mejor problema es la contaminación cruzada. Sí. Pero en general es bastante fácil, sí.
So Marisa just told us that it's quite easy to live with celiac disease in the Netherlands, as you can find gluten-free products in many supermarkets and also in some restaurants, but that the main issue is the cross-contamination that sometimes can happen. And Sarah, how about in Australia? How is it to be celiac there?
I think it's quite easy. The same problem as what Marissa said. I think the biggest issue is cross-contamination. And I think there's still some people that don't take it seriously and they think it's more of just a fad diet, because it was really big in Australia quite a few years ago to be gluten-free, but not medically requiring it. So restaurants and some people just thought you were doing it just to be cool. And then you have to explain that, obviously, no, I have to do this. So, but it's gotten a lot better now. So I think it's quite easy.
Sara nos comenta que en Australia es parecido a Holanda, que es muy fácil encontrar productos en supermercados y que hay restaurantes con opciones sin gluten, pero que tienen el mismo problema de contaminación cruzada. Y bueno, que ahí en Australia la moda del sin gluten, de la dieta sin gluten, como moda pegó muy fuerte. Entonces que aún hay restaurantes y sitios que no te toman en serio cuando pides comida sin gluten porque creen que es por gusto y no por necesidad. Marisa, allí en Holanda, ¿la gente conoce la enfermedad celíaca o tienes que explicarlo?
Mucha gente sabe que es gluten intolerancia, pero no sabe que es celiaquía. Entonces, cuando dice celiaquía, la gente
se quedan como, ¿qué es eso, no?
Sí. Y cuando dice gluten intolerancia, mucha gente entiende y puede...
Vale. O sea, celiaquía como tal, como la enfermedad, no se conoce tanto, pero el gluten sí que saben lo que es. Vale.
Sí.
Bueno. Also, Maria asked Marisa about what's the general perception of the people around, like if they know what celiac disease is or not. And Marisa told us that it's not really known, like the word celiac, like if you say I'm celiac, whereas gluten, the word gluten, or I cannot eat gluten, they understand better when you express it like that. And how about in Australia? Do people know about, well, you told us that it's a fashion and, well, that it was a fashion. So I guess that everyone knows what's gluten and so on, but how is it like? Do people know about celiac disease?
I think yes, there is. There's been a lot of education, and I think there's been a lot of it in the media. So a lot of people, when you speak to them and say, "Oh, I've got celiac," a lot of them now go, "Oh, okay," and they understand what it means. Maybe not the extent to what it means, but they understand that you have to be gluten-free. But I think there's the lack of understanding of how significant the disease is. And so they'll think that, oh, it's okay if you have like a little bit, whereas obviously can't have anything. And so there's that kind of lack of understanding there. But most people know what the word celiac means.
Sara nos dice que allí en Australia sí que conocen la palabra celiaquía, que la entienden, que saben que celiaquía implica no gluten, pero que no se conoce hasta qué punto conlleva la enfermedad, ¿no? No saben que por un poquito sí que pasa. Y bueno, que este conocimiento se ha adquirido estos últimos años pues a través de los medios de comunicación y también porque se ha educado a la gente de allí, que al final es necesario, todo empieza por la educación, ¿no? Sí. So, regarding the associations, how is it organized, the association in the Netherlands? Is there an association and how does it work?
Sí, tenemos una asociación de NCV, es la grande asociación, y también tiene una asociación de jóvenes, y todas las actividades son organizadas de regiones, entonces, pero también tiene actividades mucho grandes de todo el país, y como un mercado con productos sin gluten y charlas, pero muchas cosas son de regiones.
Mm-hmm. So Marisa told us that yes, that in the Netherlands there is a big association and there are also the youth part of that big association, but that they usually work in regions, or I don't know how to say it in English, like
Provinces, yeah.
In provinces.
Yeah.
So for them it's easier to organize activities that way. And how about Australia?
So it's not that big of a thing here. Each state, I believe, has their own organization. They're more so like a charity. So they are funded a little bit by the government, but it's not a really well-known thing. So I think it's very particular to celiac people, and I think it's information that you get given when you've got a diagnosis. So it's not, I didn't know about it until I was diagnosed and then got involved a little bit there. So there's not really a youth group per se. We tried to set one up a few years back, and that was when I was involved with the Europe side of things, and I came over for the celiac camp. But after that, unfortunately, that kind of dissolved. There wasn't really a heap of interest for a youth group in Australia.
Bueno, pues Sara nos dice que a diferencia de Holanda, que sí que organizan muchas actividades, allí la asociación es algo más pequeño, hay una asociación por cada estado y sobre todo dan apoyo a la gente recién diagnosticada, ¿no? Que no se conoce muchísimo que existan asociaciones, que no tienen parte joven tampoco, que hace unos años intentaron crearla pero que no tuvieron éxito. Bueno, tenemos una pregunta que nos llega por el chat, que nos preguntan que a ver si las universidades están implicadas en la enfermedad celíaca. ¿Hay menús sin gluten en las universidades, Marisa? ¿Allí en Holanda? Y en los colegios también.
No. En los colegios normalmente la gente llevan los productos de casa. Nadie...
No hay comedores escolares en Holanda.
No es normal. Puedes, pero nadie. Pero in my school, I'm just going to do it in English. In my school, when I went to university, the only thing I could buy there was yogurt and fruit. That was basically it. So, no.
Vale. Well,
but I can't speak for everything.
So Marisa started saying that before changing to English, that in the Netherlands it's usually, well, it's not that common to have lunch at a school. So
to have lunch service.
Yeah, so usually children take packed lunch from home to school when they eat at school. Y en castellano, que ella cuando fue a la universidad, pues que lo único que podía comer al final de manera segura era yogures y fruta. So, how is it in Australia, Sarah? Do schools offer gluten-free menus, and are universities involved?
So similar to the Netherlands, like it's quite common for people to bring their lunch to school, which makes it helpful for those who need to have a gluten-free diet. So you just bring what you would usually eat at home. With canteen services and cafe services at schools, I'm not too sure how it is because when I was at school, it was about 10 years ago. And at that point, I wasn't diagnosed, so I didn't know. So I wasn't really on the lookout. At university, I think it's gotten a lot better recently because it's becoming more well known and the universities want to support those who have requirements. So slowly getting better.
Good, that's nice. Bueno, Sara nos dice que en el colegio es similar a Holanda, ¿no? Que cada uno se lleva su comida desde casa y que en los comedores escolares, en los pocos que hay, que ella no sabe si ofrecen menús sin gluten o no, porque aún no había sido diagnosticada, y que sin embargo en la universidad, ahora se están empezando a implicar sobre todo las universidades en lo que es ofrecer menús sin gluten. Así que bueno, poco a poco vamos avanzando. Y Marisa, teniendo esto en cuenta un poco, ¿el gobierno da alguna ayuda a las personas celíacas allí en Holanda?
No, we don't really have any help from the government, but we do get like a tax refund. But I mean, it really depends. If you earn too much money, then you don't really get anything back. But if you don't have a lot of resources, then you get some money back from the tax reduction.
Uh-huh. Bueno, pues Marisa nos dice que ahí el gobierno no da una ayuda per se, ¿no? Pero que si para una familia de pocos recursos, pues sí que les reducen el impuesto.
Sí, o les hacen un reembolso del impuesto de los productos sin gluten.
Eso es. How about in Australia? Does the government help celiac? Well, yeah. Somehow.
They don't provide any financial support that I know of. No.
Would you say that the gluten-free products are much more expensive than the not gluten-free products?
Certain things are, but I think with everything that's come through, so gluten-free food kind of gets put in the same category sometimes as vegan food and that sort of thing. So it's kind of priced similarly. But it's gotten a lot better. Like before, I remember about 5 years ago, everything was so expensive to buy, like bread and pasta and all the processed foods. But nowadays it's getting a lot cheaper, I think, because it's more well known and it's easier to produce because people are actively buying it. So it's cheaper now than it was before, but still more expensive.
And right now there are more brands or variety of products.
Yes. There's so much more available now than before. a lot of the supermarkets make their own brand of gluten-free food now. So they don't have to, say, import the brands that they have in Europe. So having more locally produced gluten-free food makes it easier for there to be accessibility.
Bueno, pues Sara nos comenta que ahí en Australia la cantidad de productos sin gluten ha aumentado en estos últimos 5 años y al aumentar la variedad y de marcas y demás, pues el precio también ha bajado estos últimos años. Ahora se categoriza muchas veces al igual que la comida vegana y entonces el precio sí que ha disminuido algo, pero sigue siendo aún caro. Y lo que sí que dice es que muchos supermercados han empezado a crear su propio pan para no tener que importarlo desde Europa, lo cual oye, es una gran idea tener producto propio para que así salga más barato. Y que el gobierno no da ayudas de momento en Australia. No, ayudas no da. And how about in the Netherlands? Do you have, like, how are the products? Would you say that it's more expensive or?
I think it's going to be really boring, but I think it's going to be the same story as Sarah was just telling about Australia, because we now have more home brands from the supermarkets themselves, which are like maybe a few like cents more expensive than the normal products, but at least it's not like €5 for one piece of pasta, you know. So
Yeah.
it's getting better.
Yeah, here the supermarkets, they also have right now, like these last 2 years mainly, like their own brand of gluten-free products, and like the white brand or like the local brand, I would say, and it's cheaper also. Así que sí, que tanto en España como en Holanda como en Australia ya los supermercados tienden a tener su propia marca de productos sin gluten, lo cual hace que los productos sean más baratos y pues es un gran avance. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And do the associations have like a list of gluten-free products that are available or restaurants that you can go to safely?
Well, we have a list of restaurants that are like working together with the NCV, with the association, but that's just like maybe 10, 20 restaurants in the Netherlands. So there's way more restaurants that can actually provide for you. And we don't really have a list of products at all. You just have to find that out in the supermarket, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Marisa nos dice que ahí en Holanda no tienen una lista de productos sin gluten, pero que sí que tienen una lista de restaurantes que están trabajando con la asociación, pero que en la lista salen muy poquitos restaurantes, que hay muchos más restaurantes en Holanda que ofrecen opciones sin gluten, aunque no estén trabajando con la asociación. And how is it in Australia, Sarah?
Well, in Western Australia, I know they have, with the association here, a list of products that are gluten-free that you can get from the supermarket. They often send out a list of things that are discounted at certain times, so that you can kind of go and stock up if you'd like. With restaurants, there is a list as well of approved restaurants that are considered celiac safe. But a lot more restaurants, if you go there and explain what's happening, they can cater for you as well.
Uh-huh. Por lo que nos dice Sara, allí en Australia sí que, por lo menos en su estado, tienen una lista de productos sin gluten y aparte de eso también les suelen enviar un aviso con qué productos sin gluten están con descuento, ¿no? Así que es un buen momento para coger y hacer acopio de productos y que luego que sí que tienen lista de restaurantes que ofrecen menús sin gluten también, pero que aparte de esos restaurantes que aparecen en la lista, como es el caso de Holanda, que hay muchos más restaurantes que ofrecen el menú sin gluten y que si lo explicas, pues te atienden. So, would you say, Sarah, that the hospitality has a positive attitude towards attending the demands of a celiac person?
Yes. So I know, because I work in a hospital myself, I know that when someone comes in with celiac, disease, they're able to cater for them. And then I guess in regards to diagnosis, there's ways of doing that for you. And doctors are able to refer people for blood testing and for biopsies if needed. In regards to support, it's not really, I don't find it an ongoing thing. Like, obviously you're diagnosed and they're like, okay, so this is what you need to do. And then there's not really a huge amount of follow-up.
Uh-huh. Sara nos dice que allí en los hospitales y demás sí que se conoce la enfermedad, te diagnostican muy bien y te dan todos los recursos necesarios a la hora de diagnosticarte, pero que luego no hacen un seguimiento como tal. Al principio sí que te explican todo muy bien, pero no hay ningún tipo de seguimiento o apoyo a largo plazo en este sentido. How is it in Netherlands, Marisa, when you are diagnosed?
Well, that's like 10 years ago now, but it went well. Like I went to the pediatrician for children, and they diagnosed me. They guided me through what I had to do, and I got like a dietitian. I think that was about it. And then every year I get a checkup to see if everything is still as it's supposed to be. But it's not like really, they don't do anything with mental health or anything, but it's they follow up in whether you're still doing you're following your diet at least.
Yeah. Sí, Marisa nos dice que allí te diagnostican y luego después de diagnosticarte sí que te hacen un seguimiento, ¿no? Cada año, pero que aparte del seguimiento físico, digamos así, por las pruebas físicas que te hacen, no hay ningún apoyo psicológico o continuidad psicológica en este aspecto. Es un poco como aquí en España.
Yes, we would say that it's similar to as it's in Spain. We were diagnosed over 20 years ago, and the same at the beginning. You receive lots of information, and after that we just have a blood test once every year to check if you are following it or if there is something not going so good.
Yeah, but not anything related to mental health.
And would you like to share with us any anecdotes or something that happened to you when traveling or even in your own country related to the celiac disease?
Sure. Well, I mean, I personally the thing I enjoy most is when like anyone is used to walk into a restaurant and they can just eat anything they want. But we're so used to not being able to that once you see like a place that is specifically gluten-free, or it just makes life so much better just when you find that place. Like when I was in Brisbane in Australia a few years back, I went to a festival and all of a sudden they had some kind of donut stand there, and I obviously the rest of the week I was there every day.
Sí, Marisa nos dice que así como anécdota, pues bueno, que a cualquier persona celíaca le hace mucha ilusión llegar a un sitio que no te esperas, que tengan productos sin gluten y de repente encontrártelo allí sin problema, y que a ella le pasó hace unos años en Australia, que fue a un festival y de repente había un puesto de donuts sin gluten y que bueno, que encantadísima y que al final pues estaba allí todos los días. And Sarah, something similar happened to you sometime?
Well, positive or negative? Maybe it was a negative anecdote.
I think traveling, obviously haven't done much recently, but I was in the UK, living in the UK in 2019, 2020, just before the pandemic hit. And that was really interesting because while everyone spoke English, it was a completely new place to me. So I had to find all the new like gluten-free areas, and it was good. Like it worked really well and it was fine and lots of people knew. And obviously there's an association over there as well. But yeah, it's kind of nice, like Marissa said, when you find somewhere that's completely gluten-free and you can just eat whatever. It's great.
Sara nos dice que al final que un poco como Marisa, lo que más le gusta es llegar a un sitio nuevo que no te esperas, que ya hace un par de años, en el 2019-2020, estuvo viviendo en Inglaterra y era pues todo completamente nuevo, y que entonces descubrir una nueva zona, un nuevo sitio sin gluten, pues que cada día era una alegría descubrir algo, el día que descubrí algo así, ¿no? I have to say that one of my most positive anecdotes that happened to me was in the Netherlands. I was there visiting a friend, and we went to a cafe or something like that, and he said like, oh, what would you like? And I was like, no, and they probably have nothing. And he talked with the waitress there, and he told me like, no, just a second. And I saw the waitress running out the restaurant, and I was, or the cafe, and I was like, what's... Of course, I understood nothing of the situation, and I asked my friend, like, what have you told him? Like, where is he going? And after probably 10 minutes or something like that, he came back all sweaty, and he brought me the nicest apple pie I've ever had. And he went running to a bakery that they had gluten-free food nearby. I don't know how far was it, and he brought it to me like straight from the bakery, and I was like,
Oh,
That's
you
really
go to the bakery after.
That's being polite.
Yeah, it's nice.
Sí, bueno, que yo cuando fui a Holanda me pasó algo pedí algo, no tenía nada sin gluten, y el camarero se apuró y entonces salió corriendo a una pastelería especializada en productos sin gluten y me vino con la mejor tarta de manzana que yo jamás he probado, y el camarero fue corriendo al establecimiento, lo compró y volvió a la cafetería para que yo pudiese comer algo. Súper bonito. Marisa, ¿a qué país dirías que te ha sorprendido para bien a la hora de viajar con celiaquía? O para ti, ¿cuál es el paraíso celíaco, por así decirlo?
Where I think is the best place to be now, you mean?
Well, now, I mean, like gluten-free wise, which country or which area would you say that is the paradise? Like the celiac paradise?
Still think Italy. Even though Italy is the country of pasta and pizza, when I went there, it's like, oh my God, they even had lasagna gluten-free for me. I was like, I will never leave, but I left.
Yeah,
it was
me
great.
The same. Italy's a paradise. And for you, Sarah, where have you been that it's like, wow, that you would recommend to other celiac person, like you have to try that because that food is...
I'd love to go to Italy. And that was the plan before the pandemic. But like when I came to Spain for the camp, that was amazing because obviously everything was gluten-free organized and it was just traveling. And I was like, wow, like there's just so many options here that I didn't know about. So that made me really confident about traveling, being gluten-free after that, because I knew that there was options everywhere, because I'd met all these people that were from different countries and they were living in their countries with celiac disease. So there were ways of doing it. So yeah, hopefully once everything opens up, we can travel again.
Yeah, the camps are really good to get courage to travel new countries with celiac disease. That's true. So, Sara nos comenta que ella no ha tenido todavía la oportunidad de viajar a Italia, que era su plan, pero que el COVID, bueno, pues lo tuvo que aplazar. Y que cuando vino al campamento CYG, que se celebró en Alicante en 2017. ¿Was it 2017 o 2018?
Yes, 2017.
En 2017, pues que le gustó mucho la experiencia y ver a tanta gente celíaca junta y saber que si ellos pueden vivir con enfermedad celíaca en tantos países, pues que le animó mucho a viajar y que le dio una energía muy positiva. Bueno, pues vamos a ir cerrando ya este mayoceliaco 2021, esta cuarta jornada, este cuarto vuelo. Gracias por volar con nosotros y espero que os haya gustado conocer tantos países, tanto como nos ha gustado a nosotras al menos, y que lo hayáis disfrutado y hayáis aprendido mucho. Yeah, so as Maya was saying, thank you very much for being here today with us, Sarah, Marisa,
And thank you very much for the others that have been to the Netherlands and Australia. And well, y un pequeño apunte, no os olvidéis que el martes volvemos a las 9 de la noche y que estaremos con María Valverde y Garazi Urcola, actrices galardonadas y las dos celíacas que nos contarán cómo es vivir con enfermedad celíaca entre rodajes, entre eventos y promociones.
Exacto. Thank you for playing with us. See you.